Trustee McMahon,
Present.
trustee Riley,
Here?
trustee Alexander,
What was that?
trustee Alexander.
Yes, there was an interruption in the flow there, sorry.
Okay, trustee Martin,
Here?
trustee Worth.
Here.
Is trustee Kane here? I know she was planning to join. That's what I have right now.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I would remind meeting participants to please leave their mic muted when they're not speaking. And I will pass it over to Jeff to introduce the student representative discussion.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon. I do see Anna McLaughlin by name, but not by face on my screen. Trustee McMahon and Heather Ball and I met with four or five of the student representatives a week and a half or so ago to prep for this meeting. No specific issues were identified, but I will certainly invite Anna. No pressure, Anna, but you're the only student that I see right now on the Zoom. So if you have anything you'd like to share with the group for this morning, please feel free to do so.
I think I am all set, and good morning, everyone. Nothing from the students.
Well then, Trustee McMahon, I'll just thank Anna publicly, knowing that she's about to term out with us, I believe, and move on with her life and career. Thank you, Anna, for your service to your university, and I'm sure President Hedin is grateful for that, and we are as well. So best wishes to you in all of your future endeavors.
Vice Chancellor.
Thank you so much.
St. John, I would like to chime in as well. The Chancellor and I were in Fort Kent last week for the campus visit, and I participated in a couple of sessions and really had some great insight, offered some valuable information from the students' perspective, but also from her role with this group. So really nice. It was very nice working with her, and thank you so much for your engagement in that process.
Let me just say that I was with Anna, as you just heard, and she knocks it out of the park every time she plays. So we're going to miss her. She's just a fantastic human being and very, very successful, and we're very proud of her and thank her for her service.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the kind words. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with all of you, and I've learned so much. So thank you so much.
And thank you again, Anna, from the Board of Trustees. I see Trustee Kane has joined us. Trustee Kane, do you have anything to tell the group?
I sure am. I'm here. I mean, I don't know. 1 week ago today, I successfully defended my doctoral dissertation and long earned the title of Dr. Emily Kane, PhD from the University of Maine. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited and happy to be here.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon. Thank you, David.
You're very welcome. Jeff, the faculty rep discussion.
Thank you. And David, I'll check with Beth to see if there's a naming convention for Dr. Trustees. If I have to refer to Emily in that way, I'll figure out whether it's Trustee Dr. Kane.
I mean, I think, and technically, because I was elected, I think it's the Honorable Dr. Trustee Kane. So, Jeff, I'm gonna let you figure that out. Okay.
Maybe Vice Chancellor Lowe can help me with that.
You can just call me Emily. Emily is really what I answer to.
Very good.
Thank you very much for that.
So, of course, I see Lisa here. We spoke with her a minute ago, and Clyde is here. And I'm looking for other faculty representatives on.
And Ivan is here.
And Ivan is here. Great. Very good. So we'll open it up to that group for any subjects of discussion they'd care to share with us this morning.
Only during the last week of classes would you hear silence from faculty when given an opportunity to speak.
Which is exactly what I was going to say. In the last week of classes, our focus is on finishing the semester successfully and graduating our wonderful students. So lots of things are happening in the Faculty Senate at the University of Maine, but nothing to report to, nothing to be elevated to this group. Thank you.
So I will jump in here, and I wanted to say a big thank you to Trustee Alexander for the work that she's done on the policy for freedom of speech in the system. I find it very comforting to know it's out there. I got an email about a week ago from HR, which I actually really appreciate, advising me that if there's anything on my social media that was linked to the Palestine state, I would be eligible for deportation. Technically, that would be a bit of an uphill battle for them because I think they thought I had a green card, not citizenship. But I do appreciate the parameters that Trustee Alexander helped to kind of put in so that I know that, when I'm teaching material and talking about budgets and finance, that I'm not going to get deported for that. So thank you, Trustee Alexander.
Any other comments?
Good grief, Clyde. I'm just so sorry this is happening to you and many other people. Jeez, thank you.
So if I could just add to that, I was at a system-wide faculty meeting on Saturday, and there were actually several faculty who are green card status sharing their discomfort with that email. Not that they weren't appreciative of the notice, but I would just give some feedback that it could have been framed or front-loaded a bit better. My understanding is that it was all about the scary things that could happen and what the current administration has said about social media with people who aren't citizens. And then at the end, it's like, well, here's the EAP if you feel you need some help. And I think there could have been some messaging of like, we support you. We believe you're a valuable member of our community. These are concerns that are coming from certain decisions being made in Washington. These are things you might want to think about, and here's EAP. But it was very front loaded with a lot of scary information, and that was shared by at least, we had about 40 faculty in the room, and there was at least 6 of them who felt very, very uncomfortable with just the way the messaging came across. So I don't know if there's anyone on this meeting that was involved in that. I do appreciate the outreach, and I'm sure it's also going to our students as well. But maybe not starting with the scary news right away, starting with some message of support. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick. Any other comments? I see Joe Staples has just joined us. Joe, you have anything to add to this group?
Nope, sorry, I was in the zone grading, so my apologies for arriving late.
Okay. Jeff, is there anything you want to do as final comments on this section?
I don't believe so, but thank you.
Okay. So let's move to the next item on the agenda, 90 credit applied bachelor's degree program update. And over to you, Jeff.
Thank you very much. I know trustees have heard this from me before. As you might expect, faculty views on this subject are wide-ranging and thoughtful and smart. I will say I had the chance to speak with each of our faculty senates and assemblies, most of them, but not all, in person this spring to talk about 90 credit programs. And of course, it's been a regular subject of discussion with the provosts, now with the registrars and with other groups as we start to bring more and more people into this conversation. I will say that 2 decisions that the chancellor and the trustees made early on proved to be pivotal in the work that was led by faculty this spring and their provosts. The decision to focus our cohort of 5 pilot programs exclusively on adult degree completers, that enjoyed a strongly positive reception at almost every university, with a few faculty saying, hey, this should be opened up to other students as well, but most faculty, a strong majority of faculty saying, no, please keep it to adult degree students. And that again was well received. And secondly, the fact that it is a pilot and that NECHI, our primary accreditor, is not globally approving delivery of these programs, but only pilot group by pilot group as they come through. That also got a positive reception from faculty that I spoke to, which includes not only the senates and assemblies, but a chairs and directors group by invitation of a dean at Orono, and numerous other faculty individually, over email, over the phone, in person, by Zoom throughout the semester. Had a chance to really speak to quite a few people. I will say that the areas of concern that most commonly came through have been addressed, most of them early on and some more recently. And I appreciate not only faculty in general, but in particular the faculty board representatives on the screen today, and those who weren't able to join us as well. Early on, that group said, we need an enrollment safeguards document, which was the same thing that the trustees said to me early on. So we got that done right away. Shared that out through the Faculty Governance Council, shared that in my conversations with faculty senates and assemblies, and with the provosts, of course, and with other groups. The second concern we worked on really throughout the semester. Oh, please, Trustee Alexander.
I just didn't know what that term meant. Enrollment something.
Enrollment safeguards document. So Trustee
What's that,
Alexander, this
please?
is the document that the trustees and I discussed a couple times, and then also with the faculty representatives, ensuring that only adult degree completers are eligible for these programs, and that we set up a detailed set of enrollment strictures to ensure that only that population is the population that is in these programs. The second area where there was really good and helpful faculty feedback was around the naming conventions for these programs. We agreed at the end of the road to put the word applied in front of the name, not the degree, but the name of each program. So it's Applied Business Management at Fort Kent, it's Applied Public Administration at UMA, and so forth. And then toward the second half of the semester, we had some really good feedback from coming from faculty saying, we also think it would be useful to put in parentheses at the end of the name 90 credit or 90 credit program, to clearly demarcate these programs from any 120 credit programs, especially those that involve content that already uses or carries the word applied as part of the name. So applied sciences, applied psychology were the two that were most frequently brought forward by faculty. So at the end of the day, what we've sent to the faculty through the Faculty Governance Council just a week and a half or so ago for faculty consideration is 5 programs in our cohort with the word applied at the front of the degree, and in parentheses at the end 90 credit in each case, so it's crystal clear. We also have a mechanism, we'll be working with the registrars, assuming these programs are approved by the trustees and then approved by NECHI, which is a couple of steps down the road from here, to put those titles in exactly that way in schedule of course offerings, in catalog copy, in all marketing materials, and then also importantly for transcript purposes, so that it is crystal clear. These are not 120 credit programs. They're part of our pilot cohort. They are 90 credit programs. And that level of attention to the naming of the programs proved to be a tipping point in a positive direction for several of our faculty senates and assemblies in their discussion of these programs. And I'm happy to answer any questions I can about that piece of it. Please, Trustee Alexander.
The summary you gave us that is included in the meeting materials didn't really explain the limited nature of who can enroll in these programs. And I was a little concerned about not having that made crystal clear. The second thing that I think should be included in any description to us as trustees is the nature of what is meant by pilot and what the criteria will be for the evaluation of these programs and the time frame during which data would be gathered and evaluated and considered to determine if in fact this experiment is going to be continued. So those are the two things I'll be looking at. I'm concerned about widely advertising these programs if in fact there's only a small group of potential enrollees who would be allowed to enter it. So I'm going to be concerned about how it is promoted and listed and so forth as we move forward.
Well, thank you for that. And let me respond to both of those concerns right now. So my reference to enrollment safeguards is the document that I shared and walked through with the trustees in January. So that's the document that the trustees have seen and reviewed. We took feedback from that group, from the faculty board representatives and others to refine that document, but that's been in place since January as a governing document for how enrollment is addressed. And as for the second part of what you said, which is spot on and very important, this is me only, not the provost. So I'm only, if you dislike this direction, it's on me and nobody else. I didn't want to go too far down the road during the spring in working out things like how we're going to assess programs that haven't yet been approved. So there is an assessment reference in each of the program proposals, as there is for any academic program proposal. But when it comes to things like gathering workforce data, employee satisfaction, all of that, we want to be careful I want to be careful not to get ahead of the trustees' will on this matter and start working out things that for any other program wouldn't be worked out until we knew the program had been approved. At that point, because of the timeline for this, we're tentatively on the agenda. We are on the agenda for a meeting with NETCHI in November. So assuming the programs come forward in June, assuming they're approved by the trustees in June or frankly September, and we go before the commission in November, we're looking at a summer or fall 2026 launch date for these programs. That is more time than the provost and I typically have for any other degree program to work with faculty and ensure that all the things that you described in the second part of your question are addressed before program launch. And I hope that's helpful.
Can I respond?
Please.
I don't think it is, Jeff. And the reason I'm suggesting the need for identification of what pilot means and how it's going to be evaluated is typically associated with the approval of pilots. You don't approve a pilot unless you know what it is you're evaluating and what the criteria are and what the evaluation plan is. So I am concerned about that, and maybe further discussions need to be held, but I would typically look for that as part of the package for approving the program.
So thank you. And I will say we've used the word pilot throughout the spring because in January, the trustees specifically asked us to do so. So pilot has been part of the nomenclature from the beginning because trustee approval of this was partly contingent on using that language. And I fully support it, agree with it, but I wanted to make it clear here that that's been our tack from the beginning because that was the directive we were given by the board.
I have Trish followed by Lisa. Trish.
Thanks, David. Jeff, just point of clarification, this has been very helpful. And I appreciate that the titles of the degrees are applied, but I think you said that the degree would still be a BA or a BS.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So
how does, so I guess that confuses me because how does that stop somebody with a 90-hour from just saying I have a BS or a BA?
Because we're going to put applied and in parentheses at the end of the degree 90 credit on the transcript when a student graduates from these programs. Now, any student, of course, is free to misrepresent his or her academic credentials, and sometimes people do when they go on the job market. We can't control that for this population any more than we can for others. I will say, however, Trish, to the earlier part of what you said, we did explore the possibility of a new degree type. So could we create a bachelor's of applied science or a bachelor's of applied arts? The difficulty there is it's conservatively about 2 years to go through the state process that would be required to get us to the point where we're seeking legislative approval of a new degree type with no guarantee of a positive outcome at the end of the road. Meanwhile, we're on a timeline we've already established with the trustee support and with the provost's help and with faculty and with NETCHI for trying to move these forward during the 2025 calendar year. So that was the difficulty there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I also think it's a little worrisome, but we'll keep plowing. It's a pilot.
So Jeff, just to put this in context, can you give people a quick summary of what is happening elsewhere in New England?
So elsewhere in New England, we have programs already approved in Rhode Island, in Massachusetts, in New Hampshire. The programs in Rhode Island and New Hampshire will launch in the fall semester. The programs in Massachusetts are awaiting legislative approval. NETCHI has approved programs in Massachusetts. The Mass legislature has not yet approved them. We don't have that problem. Thanks to chiefly to Vice Chancellor Dorsey, I have in hand a signed memo from Commissioner Macon conveying the state support for this pilot program, 90 credit program as a variant of the existing state approved 120 credit bachelor's program. And we have that will go forward as part of our materials. Again, pending trustee approval of the programs over the summer. It'll go forward as part of the materials we submit to NETCHI. We owe them what's called a substantive change request in September in advance of their November commission meeting. In saying all of this, I'm just pretending that NETCHI Commissioner Lowe is not currently on the screen. Lisa, can I answer a question for you?
Trustee Katz actually had his hand up before me and then down, so I would defer to him to go first. Go ahead.
Well, thanks. That's unnecessary, but thank you. So I just want to get clear, Jeff, and perhaps it's in the materials, but an institution which is going to be one of the host one of these pilot projects, the faculty senates in each of those institutions has formally approved going ahead with it?
They've come through the existing curricular approval process at each of the universities. So in our case, Machias, UMA, UMPI, and Fort Kent. They've gone through that process. As of April 18, all 4 of those universities at the faculty governance level had approved their program proposals. Later that same afternoon, I sent them out to the Faculty Governance Council co-chairs and the Faculty Senate and Assembly presidents for distribution and review across all of our senates and assemblies and faculty system-wide.
And once the university in question, once their faculty senate has approved it, what additional faculty approval is there at the system level, whether it's the Faculty Governance Council or anybody else?
They go out for consideration by any faculty member who wants to share feedback at any of our universities, Trustee Kate. So by being distributed through the Faculty Governance Council, which is one of the purposes of the Faculty Governance Council, they go to all faculty through their Senate or Assembly presidents and the Faculty Governance Council co-chairs. Any faculty member is eligible to share written or verbal feedback if he or she would like to with me at any point. We gave them through the end of the spring semester up until the day before faculty go off contract to try to allow as much time as possible. Given the new nature of these programs, we wanted to get as much feedback from faculty as we could.
Great. And then just one further one, that input, that feedback you get from various faculty around the system gets considered by who?
It gets sent by me back to the originating provost with the request that the feedback then be shared with the faculty at large on that campus and with the faculty who developed the program proposal.
Okay, thanks very much. Appreciate
it. Lisa, followed by Joe.
Yes, thank you. I apologize if these questions may have been answered in previous documents. I haven't been as engaged as you all know this year because of medical leave. But when you say, Jeff, degree completers, I'm just wondering, are you making those safeguards, is that about how many credits they already would be transferring in? And the reason I ask that is that can be very difficult with our robust early college program. So you could have a traditional age student who is just graduating high school that may be bringing in, 21 credits. So I'm just wondering what those safeguards look like. And then the second question is there still going to be the 30 credit residency requirement that we have for all programs, that no matter what a student is transferring in, they have to have taken 30 credits at the institution to be awarded that degree from that institution?
So the answer to your first question is, it's a great question, and you're the third person who's asked it, Lisa, which tells me it's a good and important question. We do have provision for what you describe in this enrollment safeguards document, which I will ask Jamie or Heather to send to you, we are requiring, in keeping with the definition we've established a couple of years ago for adult degree completion scholarship dollars, that a student be away from one of our universities for a period of at least 2 years prior to matriculating. So you can't come as a high school senior with 21 early college credits and roll right into an adult degree completion program. We have specifically blocked that path. That honors the trustees' request, and it also addresses a major concern that I heard from faculty early in the semester about that avenue. So thank you for that. As for the second part of what you asked, can you remind me?
The 30 credit residency requirement.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we are neither requiring nor in any way changing residency requirement. That's typically a faculty determined consideration at the universities in consultation, of course, with their provosts and their president. And we're not, the only thing we've shared with respect to numbers of credits is the NECHI guidance, the one-page NECHI document, which requires at least 30 credits in the major for these programs, and then some number of credits upper division within the major, which is similar to what we have for all of our existing programs at our universities.
So if I could, before we go on, I know other people want to speak, if I could just add one more comment. I just want everyone to be with this pilot to take the lessons learned from YourPace in the early days. Our focus when that was being built up was very much on adult completers. And then we had an age, and then that age came down. And what happened was a lot of more traditional age students were very interested in it because it seemed like a faster way and potentially a less expensive way to get a degree. But the experience in the program is that traditional aid students were not very successful by and large because of the need to be much more kind of mature in the way you engage with materials and so forth. So you're probably going to have people saying, I'm 18 and I want to take this. Why can't I? So that it was a struggle for, I know, with YourPace in the early days. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Joe and Roger, you still have your hand up. Do you have a follow-up question? Okay, Joe.
Okay, great. So I try to separate myself from representing faculty and speaking from my own perspective as a individual faculty member. So I'm going to speak from the later here. We all know that this is kind of coming, right? This idea of a 90 credit BS, it's happening elsewhere. Market forces are going to drive this. But one of the things I have some issue with is this idea of applied in front of it, because there are some programs that are inherently applied all by themselves, right? And so I think that's going to get a little messy as we move forward. And just getting the ball rolling, sure, but I just want to put out there that even if we accept it now, I'm hoping that we might be able to change it when we come up with a better term or idea in the future. Just so that existing 120 credit programs aren't, people just don't confuse that. And again, I think environmental science and policy at USM, we've designed this program that students leave with the knowledge, skills, and abilities to get a job in the field. It's a very much an applied approach to the science that we do. And in that regard, coming up with another name for it, this idea of a BS, again, I understand the market forces with this. And maybe this is a conversation we shouldn't be having. Maybe this is something that NECHI or higher, whatever that may be, should be discussing. What does this 90 credit thing look like? Is it truly a BS? And I don't know how we get that conversation going, but I wish we could, because even though we're all just sort of hesitantly going with this, I still sense a lot of discomfort with the idea of calling this a standard Bachelor of Science. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. And Joe, as you know, this is a conversation, a good one, that I had with your faculty senate a month or so ago. I've had it with a couple other faculty senates. We are following the guidance that NECHI has provided and what we see as being the most acceptable language At this point in time, that may shift as more of these programs get developed regionally and nationally. And there may be, as there often is, sort of a preferred term that appears and everyone moves toward that term. For this pilot cohort, I'm trying to be very careful not to shift gears on anything I've already said to faculty during the course of the spring semester. And then, of course, we'll have ample time to evaluate, as Trustee Alexander noted the importance of, because it's 5 programs. We'll have lots of eyes on them and an opportunity to really figure out what's working and what isn't. I totally appreciate everything you're saying and don't disagree with it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that once we start with this, that we're still able to tweak it and adjust as we move on. And so many things that happen at the university in the system, you know, they get stuck in there, and that's it. You're stuck with it for years. And I just want to make sure that we can come back to this. Also, I apologize. I have to leave. I'm teaching right now. I'm in 2 places at once. It's amazing. So I got to go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Emily.
Thank you. I think this is all really helpful. It's a really good conversation. I also feel like every time we talk about it, we circle through the same sets of concerns because they're reasonable concerns, right? And we get a little closer each time to kind of go time, right? And I feel like we're at the point now where we have done a really good job, including today, of articulating the still outstanding questions, right? The way that we are, the reasons we want to make sure we're getting it right, the rationale for making it a pilot, right? But I feel like we are at the point of almost sort of circling back on ourselves from a laying it all out perspective, because I really think there's a lot of opportunity here. And because we are so eyes wide open on the things we're worried about, right, as we've just heard articulated very, very well, but also the opportunity for meeting the needs of these students. I just wanted to sort of say that out loud because I'm listening to this conversation sort of thinking, as you said, Jeff, yeah, we talked about this in January. Actually, we talked about this 6 months ago. Like there's sort of that thread, but I think that means we're doing a good job. But at a certain point, and I think I'm at that point where it's like, I'm excited to see how this does go so that then hopefully as we move forward, the next time we're talking about this, we can be talking about how many students are actually interested in it, how many are actually doing it, how are the faculty who are teaching in it experiencing those students, right? What is the nature of the commitment they're bringing to it, right? How much completion do we think is going to happen, right? Which is a big part of this. So just wanted to say I think it's great we're being so thorough, but it's also exciting to know that we're moving towards action.
Thank you.
Emily. Any other comments on this? If not, thank you all very much for your comments and concerns. Emily, your hand's still up. And the next program is new academic program proposal, associates AA in psychology, UMA. And Jeff, you wanted to introduce this briefly?
I do. I want to just, excuse me, thank Provost Zakis and President Cushman for their leadership in this arena. ASA trustees will note this is the most recent in a small but important series of associates of arts degrees that Provost Zakis and faculty, and along with President Cushman, have developed at UMA over the last year and a half. There are 2 things going on here. The first is led by the provost. UMA faculty are seeing more areas where existing curricular content can be deployed either to help attract adult degree completers who are a primary population for UMA, or in some cases for community college students who already know they want to earn an AA on the road toward a 4-year degree program in an area that either does or doesn't exist at UMA. But they want to start at one of our 4-year universities, and UMA is a place where they can do that. Secondly, I'll just also say quite bluntly, this is credit maximization. This is exactly what we ask the provost to do every day of the year. Figure out how you can help, in particular, adult degree completers, but all students who have a random assemblage of credits in some area and may not even know they're close to a credential, to put that together, put a frame around it, develop some proactive advising, and help the students pick up a degree that they might not otherwise even recognize that they could be earning. So whether it's that degree by target or that degree on the road to a 4-year degree, this is an outstanding way to help students maximize their time, their dollars, and their effort. And I'm really pleased to see UMA bringing this program forward. Thank you.
Okay, with that, Joe, you're up.
Right. Good morning, folks, and thank you. So really consistent with the following of our previous discussion, right? Providing milestones, stacking credentials along the way for working non-traditional students. This is just like Jeff said, this is in line with our strategic efforts to kind of find those associate degrees where they make sense. Also, just as a strongly related note is that the discipline of psychology is in line with UMA's continued efforts in neurodiversity, which, you know, having a formal degree is only going to strengthen that effort as we move forward. UMA, as Jeff has always said, we have a minor in psychology already in our Bachelor's of Social Science. Psych courses, upper level psych courses are run and required in our Bachelor's in Mental Health and Human Services program. So all the courses are already created, you know, regularly taught, fully staffed. We have faculty credentialed as doctorates in psychology. So there's no additional cost to this program. It's just, as Jeff said, a repackaging, but really a refocus, I guess I would also say. You know, I don't think I'll go too much other than the field of psychology is a gateway to many disciplines. You know, I've mentioned our social science as well as our mental health and human services program. I'll add that, you know, our graduate certificates in trauma-informed emergency management and our substance use disorder would align very nicely with this. So again, laying the track for the pipelines to our programs as well as others, kind of thing. I would allow me just to give a quick shout out to Dr. Patrick Cheek, former BOT faculty rep for UMA. Also Professors Roth and Corlew, who worked very hard on this. And so not just on the curriculum building, you know, so we have all these pieces already trying to build really a solid program, but also the work they did with our colleagues here. We have a 2+2 agreement with Farmington in place. We looked at the transfer issues with Fort Kent. Supporting letter from USM. I think so. I think they did their homework well to show that this program is here, and I think fits nicely in the constellation here. This program, as I close here, is also online, helping our goal of trying to increase the number of online programs. So, thank you.
So, Joe, to summarize, no cost, increased revenue, transferability, and you're ready to go.
You should do my presentation next time, Chairman.
I just want to summarize that. So questions from the trustees. Barbara. You're on mute.
Thank you. I was looking at what I was confused about, and this is a matter of my desire for clear explanation and acknowledgement of what's going on at other universities in this same area. So I'm looking at page 16 in our book, and it says, we examined associate's degree across the main system, those at UMM, UMFK, and UMPI, and we've determined no competing degrees exist. That didn't make sense to me. If they have, do we have AAs in psychology in existence elsewhere in the system?
So the question is, not at Machias, although they have a concentration in psychology for, I think, their professional studies. Up at Fort Kent, as you remember last time, they renamed their mental health and human services thing to an AA in psych. So when we did our intent to plan and things like that, at the time, there was none until that. And once we had it, we met with both the Machias and Fort Kent folks. We discussed it, and we ensured that we had transfer agreements in place specifically for Fort Kent, because Machias did not have that program. So we feel pretty good about that. So thank you.
Well, it would be helpful, and this is a recommendation on my part for explaining this, if we just listed outright what it is existing on other campuses, on other universities that are AAs or the equivalent in psychology. and then describe how you've interacted with them to coordinate your program and allow transfer and 2+2 and whatever. So I read this section of the report and I was not clear. And I think I need to be clear and have clear information about that. This notion that something is labeled AA in psychology elsewhere, but is somehow not the same thing, it bothers me, to be blunt. And so I just think a more clear explanation of exactly what exists elsewhere and how this program is going to coordinate with those programs elsewhere, and move along in the 2+2 as well to get a complete BS in this area. So this is just my penchant for clear reading, and I would appreciate a better way of presenting this in the future, please. Thank you.
Other questions, comments by trustees? Roger. You're on mute, Roger.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Joe. And I want to thank you and the others who have new program proposals before us today for including the financial pro formas on what it looks like going forward. Very, very much appreciated. Thank you. But I had a question about that, and it seemed, and you have another program that says essentially the same thing, that no new faculty will be needed, which is great. But the question came up, well, why are these other faculty available? Are these faculty who have extra capacity under their contracts, which is not being used now, or they're switching from other things, or how is it that we're able to do it without any additional labor costs, so to speak?
Yep, great question. So thank you. So we have two programs at UMA that teach core requirements in psychology. Our social science program, which is a bachelor's degree, and our bachelor's in mental health and human services. There are, in social science, there's sociology and communications and things like that, but also there's a psychology, and there's a psychology concentration there. So there are PSY psychology courses taught as a degree requirement in our social science program, and there are PSY psychology courses taught in our mental health and human services program as well. So taking those two, requirements for mental health and human services, requirements for social science, bundling them together,
Okay.
We have the faculty who are at full load, now taking classes that are both in support of now multiple degrees, don't have to create any new sections unless the popularity, comes about. So.
That's really helpful. I think I finally get it now. So there's no actual new courses being created.
Nope.
We're bundling together courses which already exist.
Exactly. That's exactly what we've done in the past with our other associate degrees as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions for Joe? Roger, you all set, your hand still up. If there are no more questions from anybody, let me read the text of the proposed resolution. That the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the May 18, 19, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Associates of Arts in Psychology at the University of Maine at Augusta. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Kane, and a second, please.
Second?
That was Roger?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, Beth, could you please take the roll?
Yes. Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Worth.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, well, first of all, let me welcome Trustee Baldacci, who's just joined the meeting. Good to see you, Elise. The next item on the agenda is a new academic program proposal, BS in Forest Management at UMFK. President and Provost Dean. Sorry, Jeff, you want to introduce?
Just very briefly, thank you. 2 points for the trustees' consideration here. Number one, because of the size of the Fort Kent faculty, President Hedin is unusually scrupulous about doing advanced legwork on new program development. She's careful about what she brings forward. This program has been gestating for over a year and a half. I had my first conversation with Deb about this program in January of 2024. It's been through multiple discussions at the level of the provost, considerable informal revise and resubmit, you call it that way. Deb's gone back to the table and back to her faculty a number of times to make this proposal as strong as possible. She will be telling you about a market for this program that exists in Aroostook County and in Canada that we do not believe exists elsewhere. And I also want to say, out of respect for comments all the trustees have made, but also out of respect for Trustee Alexander's comments earlier a few minutes ago, the Orono provost does not support this program. The other provosts and I support this program. To my knowledge, the presidents support this program. There have been multiple attempts to communicate with the UMaine faculty in the appropriate areas. Those communications did not yield agreements about collaboration. The preference in Orono was for existing Fort Kent programming to flow into the Orono forestry program, essentially as a feeder. That is not what President Hedin wants to do. I support what President Hedin wants to do. And with that as background, I'll turn it over to her, and I'll also be happy to answer any questions that I can when she's done presenting.
Well, good morning, everyone. UMFK proposes a BS in Forest Management. UMFK currently has an associate's degree in Applied Forest Management. In December 2023, we began discussing the possibilities of a bachelor's degree in forest management. During 2024, meetings took place with UMaine and UMFK, as well as with the UMFK Forestry Advisory Council and the campus approval process. A BS in forest management would exploit UMFK's location in Maine's northern forest, comprising significant working forests and wilderness, as well as its proximity to a strong forest products industry in the solid wood, pulp and paper, and biomass sectors. UMFK's location in the heart of Maine's North Woods and industrial forest and its proximity to the Allagash Wilderness provides opportunities for experiential fieldwork and natural resource management in a variety of forest ownerships, habitats, and rural land uses that are unmatched in the state and the Northeast U.S. In addition, UMFK currently enjoys strong support from Maine's forestry sector. For example, J.D. Irving provides financial and in-kind support to UMFK's forestry program through its funding of the Irving Woodlands Professorship of Forestry. Given UMFK's location on Maine's border with Canada, the potential for cross-border student recruitment, job placement, and cooperation is strong. UMFK Dean Egan, a former Canada Industrial Research Chair designee in forest operations at Lovell University in Quebec and Dean of the Faculty of Science at Brandon University in Manitoba, has had conversations with the Executive Director of the Acadian Forestry Accreditation Board. The board has agreed to review UMFK's bachelor degree in forest management for accreditation, since our graduates may apply to work in Canada. This will provide our forestry bachelor's degree program graduates with the recognition by professional forestry organizations across Canada. We encourage prospective forestry students to tour both UMFK and UMaine to find their fit. UMaine has a low number of students from Aroostook County and none from Canada in their forestry program at this time. We have potential to grow both markets, starting with our current student body, and generally provide a market for students of very rural background to earn a bachelor's degree. UMaine's forestry's recruiting has a strong out-of-state focus. While UMFK is approximately 1/3 each from the St. John Valley, Maine in general, and out of state, with a small but growing interest from Canadian students who are able to commute from home to UMFK. We will compete for a small number of students from Aroostook County, but are generally serving different types of students. Research collaborations and internships are one of our greatest strengths. Both UMaine and UMFK students work in the North, bringing a healthy difference of perspectives. This year, we are planning to send interns employed by UMFK to work temporarily on UMaine's Penobscot experimental forest, while UMaine's Cooperative Forestry Unit interns will be spending time with UMFK Dr. Thompson on a variety of research projects in the North. Strengthening our program will strengthen the collaboration potential through breadth of faculty and research capacity. In total, the UMFK faculty have 7 research projects totaling over 1.3 million in current and ongoing research collaborations involving UMaine faculty, with the PI and co-PI roles about equally split. We hope and expect this to continue and to grow with a 4-year program. Thank you.
Thank you. Chancellor, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I'll reference my semester visit to Fort Kent last week. Interestingly enough, we met with a group of approximately 8 students. 3 of those students were in the 2-year program in forestry, and 3 of them said that they would stay at the university to obtain a 4-year degree if they were allowed, if this program came to them. But even more interesting, all 3 of them said that they would not have gone to a forestry program at a large university. What they wanted was to be in a smaller community, which fits a lot of choices that people make about where they're going to be educated. That they wanted a small offering of limited to how many people were in it, but understanding that a 4-year program would in essence enlarge the program, but not at terms that other universities are operating in our system and elsewhere. So I applaud the hard work that's gone into this. I believe it's a great extension of their current program and really does, in fact, appeal to a different set of people largely. Now, there may be some cross competition, but this is a very different university than say, a university of 2,000 or larger. And a lot of the students who choose Fort Kent choose it because of its size, because of its location, and because of its offerings. So I just thought I would share that experience that was student-led.
Great. President Rice.
Thank you. I just wanted to note my support for this proposal, as well as it's been really a proposal probably in 12 or 15 years in the making. There was considerable funds provided to the University of Maine at Fort Kent when my institution and Fort Kent were involved in the initial sort of collaborations that we did under a previous chancellor. And that led to their 2-year program. And the intent, even at that time, many years ago, was that it should become a 4-year program because of the need and because of the demographics of students that it would be serving. So I think it's something that has always been there as a general long-term plan. I would also make the analogy to the agricultural science agribusiness program that was approved by the board for UMPI. That was a program that people wondered for decades why we didn't have it. And it serves a very different group of students than those that would go to a Research One institution or another larger state institution. It really serves people that are looking to get directly into agribusiness or directly into small farms or organic farming. And again, a very different demographic of students in a kind of an analogous way between those 2 major sectors of business industries in the state that these 2 institutions serve.
Okay. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks. Yeah, I can't help myself but jump in with an anecdote that piggybacks with what the chancellor was just saying. I was just at a family dinner for Easter and in Wynne, Maine. And my nephew, who's a junior in high school, he goes to Mattanock High School in Lincoln. He very much wants to study forestry, forest management. He would love to go to UMFK to study there and instead of the University of Maine. Not that the University of Maine isn't a wonderful program, but for all those reasons that the chancellor mentioned about wanting to be at a very small school in a rural location that matches a lot of his experiences in high school. So I don't know, it made me think of that conversation I had just a few weeks ago. I thought I'd add it. Thanks.
Thanks. Barbara?
I wonder if President Hadeen could talk about the finances. I've noticed on page 41 of our book that you are predicting 10 new full-time students with certain projected incomes from that. And you do have some additional costs you need to incur to actually offer the program. So talk about where the projected 10 came from and what will happen if in fact that kind of incremental enrollment doesn't happen over the next couple years. In other words, discuss risks and rewards and how you're going to handle that on a going forward basis.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. So first of all, the projections, they have a cost analysis formula that they use. I'm not exactly sure. They look at what is typical in our other programs and how our other programs have grown. And basically these numbers are usually very conservative, and we're very cautious instead of over exceeding what we think we can deliver. In this, the question that came up prior was how many new courses. There are 5 new courses being added to this program. And so we're able to use other existing courses on the campus that then move into this degree. We currently have 6 faculty on the campus that can contribute to this program. 3 faculty that are completely fully aligned with the forestry program. And then 3 additional folks that can contribute based on courses that they're teaching either in environmental sciences or the biology program. You'll see that there are some additional costs around adjunct faculty, and I'm sure they put that in there because there might be a situation where someone is on overload, or we might then reach out to have someone else teach a course with that particular expertise. Also, you'll see in the numbers up in the cohorts, when you see that first group, actually that first number, I wanted to clarify that first number in year 1 shows 15. It actually is supposed to be a 9. The rest of the formula played out accurately. So the revenue at the end of year 1 is that 70,000, but somehow when Jacob created the pro forma, that number wasn't accurate. So then you'll see from year 1, it would be a 9, then it moves into year 2 as 6. So what they do in those calculations is also include the retention, the 70% retention. So we anticipate sometimes we can lose a student or 2 as the years progress. So you're going to see that retention piece happen throughout that progression. What we do know about our forestry students is because they're a tight cohort, they tend to stay strong and complete the program. But we still use the formula that's being used on the campus so that then we wouldn't overcommit with possibilities of, again, trying to bring in revenue that we may not receive. So this is a very cautious, conservative approach to growing a program.
Could I just follow up?
Sure.
Yes. Could you submit a corrected page to fix this problem so that the actual record of what it is we're approving is correct?
Yes, absolutely. It was interesting because I started really digging into that piece during the weekend just to make sure I could articulate it. And I'm like, this doesn't look right. So when I talked to Jacob this morning, he's like, oh my goodness, all my sheets show 9, Deb. But I said, you just need to tell me, does the rest of all the information, is that accurate? And he said, yes. So we will absolutely, my plan was to get that corrected and I'll get that back to Jamie.
Thank you.
We apologize for that error.
Yeah, thank you. I initially raised a lot of the concerns that Deb has so well articulated about the University of Maine and assuring appropriate collaboration. And I take very seriously when a provost makes a statement as Provost Volan did. So that gives me pause. But I think that the campus has done a great job making a compelling case for this. And I'm particularly intrigued by the accreditation in Canada, which strikes me as a real opportunity up there in the Great North Woods. And I'd like to know a little bit more about that. What's the process? What's the timing? Might a stronger collaboration with UMaine help? And does UMaine currently have similar programs that are accredited by Canada?
So I can't speak to UMaine on that piece. Someone else will have to address that. But we, like I said in my kind of opening piece, Dr. Egan, Dean Egan has already had these initial conversations with their accrediting board. And as soon, hopefully, if this is approved, then once there is that 4-year degree that is established, he will then be able to go back and then create the rest of the paperwork to then ensure that our students will have that opportunity to be to meet the standards in Canada as well. And that we're just thrilled about that based on our location. And to have that opportunity makes good sense for especially too where students can simply come over the border each day and attend classes. And from my understanding, the cost of going to for a while, it's been difficult to get as many students from Canada because the exchange rate hasn't been in favor of Canadian students, but the forestry programs have additional professional fees in Canada and costs, and our costs will be to our benefit at that point, and it will be worth it for Canadian students to come into our program to receive their degree in credentialing.
And do you know what the timetable, how long does accreditation take in Canada? Do you know?
No, I don't know that. I know that we'll have to go through the accrediting process as well for our new program within the US, and probably we will be doing both of those at the same time.
Roger, would you mind deferring to Joan so we can get an answer on the RNO situation?
That's exactly what I was going to ask, and I defer. Yes, please.
President Farini-Mundy.
Thanks, everybody. First, I want to say that that I appreciate Deb's summary of the situation and the efforts at discussing collaboration were made and did happen. Second, I would like to say that I appreciate Deb's attention to some of the actual collaborations with some various UMaine activity that are in place and that I believe could grow over time with this program. I'm going to turn in a moment to I want to get the new title right, and I want everybody to note it. It's our Interim Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs and Senior Associate Provost, Gabe Paquette, who is new to this Zoom screen for some of you, but he is now functioning as Provost for the University of Maine, as Provost Volan has accepted a position. He'll be with us for several more months officially in the position, of course. So I will introduce you to Gabe, who has had some knowledge of this process as we go. We have a very strong School of Forest Resources, and they have accreditation by the the Society of American Foresters, which I imagine would be the same U.S. group that Fort Kent will need to go through. And so I will look forward to more collaboration. I do not know the answer on the Canadian collaboration, but if it's okay, could we turn to Gabe to speak for just a moment?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And welcome, Gabe.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon, and thank you, President Farini-Mundy. So as you know, Provost Volan did voice significant concerns in the past about this program. My understanding is that due to the very significant work that President Hedin has undertaken in collaboration with the system, many of those concerns have been addressed. And as President Farini-Mundy just indicated, there probably are further collaborations that will be possible between our accredited program and the program that President Hedin and her university are setting up, which are very exciting. I think in particular, ways to collaborate between this new program that's being set up and our master's program seem particularly exciting. And so I look forward to that conversation in due course. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the
Trustee McMahon, can I add? It's by no means unusual for provosts to disagree during a meeting with the Chief Academic Officers Council, or for me to disagree with one or more provosts during that meeting. This is how the work is done. In this case, it was important to note because the trustees have been clear about wanting to understand all attempts at collaboration, and those attempts have been made in good faith on all sides. I think it's fair to say Provost Volin did almost as much work in articulating concerns to President Hedin as President Hedin did in bringing forward the proposed program at the beginning. And we had a number of conversations on this and other topics and other proposed programs that can be very constructive and be very spirited at the same time. So that's the nature of the work. You would not want a group of provosts, or I hope a vice chancellor in one of these roles who are not being candid with each other at the level of those provost conversations, because that's the best way for all of us to improve the work that we're doing. So I'll share that as context. The chair, Riley, is always encouraging us to be straight about where the opportunities are and where the challenges are. In this case, one of the challenges was articulate and thoughtful disagreement, but it yielded a stronger proposal, and I hope President Hedin would agree with that. A stronger proposal than we ever would have had otherwise by virtue of that conversation, and that's what the whole point of the Chief Academic Officers Council is. So I share that by way of context, and also to thank all parties involved in those discussions.
Jeff, can I just follow up with you or Gabe? Do we currently have any Canadian accredited forestry programs?
If the Orono program isn't Canadian accredited, then we have no Canadian accredited programs in our system.
Yeah, my understanding from Dean Egan is this would be the first.
Cool.
Mhm.
Okay, Trustee Martin, Kelly.
I'd like to commend President Hedin for bringing this forward. She's been in the community for, how long has it been, Deb? 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
And she's got a pulse on the need. I've lived in this community, and worked with people, been friends with people that work in the forestry industry and are supported by it. And there is such a great need for this. We are in the epicenter of the forest industry, and we also have a lot of forest business industry located all throughout the St. John Valley. And as Chancellor Malloy highlighted, the students are showing great support for a program like this. They want a 4-year degree. And what better place where we have all the supports in place? We have a professor of forestry. What is the name of that, Deb?
Yeah, it's the trustee professorship of here we go. Irving Woodland's Professorship of Forestry.
Yeah, there's a very, very strong connection. Thank you for that. Between the forest business industries and the university, and I just think this is the right thing to do. I also foresee that this is going to be a center of excellence, just like the nursing program. So I think it's the right thing to do, to have this 4-year degree at UMFK. And I think we could work in collaboration with University of Maine. I don't think it's competing. I think it's adding. And to speak to the relations with our Canadian friends, early on in the World Acadian Congress, I'm trying to think when that was, in 2014, there were a lot of collaborations made with the University of Moncton and I believe the community college in New Brunswick as well, in Edmundston. They were wanting to, what's the word? I'll give you an example, and I think I've used this example several times, where they were trying to, everybody seemed to be at the end of the end of the road, rural, seemed to be far away from each other. And then they took a compass and made a circle and found out there's a population of 100,000 people in a 100-mile radius, I believe is what it was. And why are we not, using marketing to that area? Why are we always going to southern Maine, or why are the Canadians always going to Quebec and to the cities? Why are we not marketing to each other? And there's a gentleman there that had sent his daughter for an English immersion all the way to Montreal, and he said, geez, if I would have known UMFK was right in my backyard, if I would have been aware of it, I could have, my daughter could have actually been much closer to home. It would have been much cheaper for me to do so. So there's so many opportunities with our Canadian neighbors that I think that this would also help with the program. But kudos to you, President Hedin, for understanding the need of the area and the need of the state and bringing this forward. I think this is 2 thumbs up in my book.
Thanks, Kevin. Any other comments? Just one comment from the chair. I would hope that we would take advantage of some of the science on carbon capture of forests as a way of improving or negating the effects of climate change, and that could be part of this curriculum as well. With the millions of acres of forest, managing them for carbon capture could actually do a lot of good for the world and for society. Let's go ahead. Sorry, I can't see. Amanda, yeah.
I just want to add also on top of everyone's notes, as a student at UMFK and also a Canadian student at UMFK, I second everyone's thoughts that it would grow the collaboration between our 2 countries, which I think would be great. And also, like Chancellor Malloy said, there is such a need. Our students want this program so badly. I would say probably 90% of the students in our forestry program already would like to continue on. And so I second everyone's thoughts from a student perspective. I think it would be really valuable to our university.
Thanks. Roger? You're on mute, Roger. Still on mute.
I apologize. Yep, they're there. And this kind of goes to that last comment. President Hedin, given everything we were all reading about going on in Washington and reading stories about things at the Maine border, what's the status of applications for the coming fall semester from Canada and matriculations following those applications? Are we seeing an impact of everything we're reading every day in the papers?
That's a really good question. I don't have that information right now. We're doing everything we can, of course, to welcome all students, and we're processing those applications. And some of that is still early for us. And some students are probably going to hesitate and wait and kind of see how things play out before they make their decisions. Right now, we have about 10 students on our campus that are from Canada. And I know Ray will have probably more examples because he has a cohort of students that have been coming across the border. And yeah, it's a sensitive time for them. And again, we will hope for the best, and we'll continue our outreach so they know that they are welcomed here at UMFK. Thank you.
Thanks.
Trustee Cates, there's a 100% chance that Jamie Ballinger is looking up those numbers right now and is going to put them in the chat just a minute.
You're great. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure Jamie's doing that, but I can just confirm with what President Hedin said, our applications continue to trend upwards. So again, what we're anxious is how many of those will move into matriculates and then confirmed closer to the fall. I think that's August is when we'll be most nervous to see what's happening in regards to things out of Washington, D.C. So.
Kelly, you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. I had a question, probably best directed towards President Rice, but was there not, I'm trying to think, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Was there not something we voted on about having the Canadian tuition be at par with the US, or what was that that we voted on many years ago? Is that
Yes,
still the case?
Yes. Canadian students receive in-state tuition rates.
In-state tuition. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, there was
And that's
both UMPI and UMFK with border with the bordering districts of Canada receive in-state tuition.
and that still is in existence today. That's great.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Lisa.
I think this is a huge concern. I got to tell you, I am Canadian. I do have American citizenship now, so I didn't get that scary email about green card status. But if I was still living in Canada and my children wanted to come to the United States to study in this environment, I would not support that. And I can tell you, I have lots of friends and family who feel the same way. I celebrated a very big birthday a couple of weeks ago and had both family and some friends from Canada come to celebrate with me. And they didn't bring their cell phones because they were afraid of what was going to happen at the border and looking at their social media. So I'm worried about what this is going to look like for the county universities in the fall.
Thank you. Any other comments, concerns? If not, I will read the text of a proposed resolution that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the May 18th, 19th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves the Bachelor of Science in Forest Management at the University of Maine at Fort Kent. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee
Second.
Kane. Second.
Second.
So it was Trustee Martin and Trustee Kane?
Trustee Alexander and Trustee Kane.
Trustee Alexander, okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, Beth, please take the roll.
Trustee McMahon.
Yes.
Trustee Riley.
Yes.
Trustee Alexander.
Yes.
Trustee Cates.
Yes.
Trustee Kane.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Baldacci.
Yes.
Trustee Worth.
Yes.
The motion carries.
I would like to
Apologize.
thank the committee for your support also in the chat. Jamie has given us some great information. It says UMFK currently has 19 Canadian applications pending for FY25, compared to 9 apps this time last year. Of those, 2 have matriculated for fall. So that's where we're at right now.
Thank you. The next item is the new academic program proposal, MS in Digital Marketing Analytics at USM. And Jeff, would you like to introduce this one?
Just briefly, thank you, Trustee McMahon. So trustees may recall me sharing an update with you early last fall about summertime discussions around business programming across our system. We had fruitful conversation with the presidents, and I then had a fruitful conversation with the provost on this subject. We are seeking, have been seeking strategically to support the MBA, but also to develop non-MBA graduate offerings at universities that are prepared and poised to do so. You saw the first of those come through last November when you approved the MS in Business in the Your Pace modality at Presque Isle. And you're seeing the first of proposals in that vein coming forward from USM today. Provost Tuchinski sharing a proposal for digital marketing analytics at USM. We're trying to do several things, and thus far, early feedback, early data suggests that we're doing them well, and that we're succeeding in what we're trying to do. And that is to capitalize on your pace for programs that are appropriate to that modality as evaluated by President Rice and his team, Provost Margison and others on that campus, to preserve and strengthen the existing MBA program through the Orono and USM faculty who contribute to it and make it what it is. And then also, where possible, to grow enrollment in the southern Maine region in New Hampshire and in related territory to capitalize on the enormous concentration of human beings in the southernmost counties in Maine, and to grow non-MBA graduate and undergraduate programming at USM. So it's a three-pronged approach, and you're seeing the third element of it come forward for the first of those offerings under that strategy from Provost Tuchinski today. President Edmondson shared some remarks with Provost Tuchinski. I'll leave it to him to decide what he'd like to pass along to you, but happy to be here today seeing this proposal come forward for your consideration.
Adam, go ahead.
Thank you, Trustee McMahon, and thank you, Vice Chancellor St. John, and all of the trustees for the opportunity to present this exciting new program today. This program, the Digital Marketing Analytics Program, is the first byproduct of a visioning process conducted by the School of Business at USM, and it was affirmed by the enthusiastic reaccreditation by the AACSB, a demanding process and achievement and it's one that binds together the business programs at the University of Maine and the University of Southern Maine. The focus of our business program is to cultivate entrepreneurial thinking or mindsets, and for every graduate to leave USM with a grasp and even mastery of the most innovative digital technologies. But most of all today, we believe this program is a great example of the power of the University of Maine system's nimbleness, within reason, within an academic context, of course, but also a product of coordinated planning in three basic ways. It represents collaboration, differentiation, and the determination of every system school to serve the workforce needs of our region and our state. This program's design is innovative and interdisciplinary. There are even few of its kind nationally, so it's well differentiated from other programs within the state. Its focus upon digital technologies, business analytics, and marketing will prepare our graduates for the jobs of the future. It is in many respects part of a shared vision of our faculty and some of the conversations that Vice Chancellor St. John shared with you at the system level to grow our non-MBA graduate offerings in Southern Maine and throughout the state. It was discussed with the presidents and the vice chancellors twice last summer, and support for that group, as I understand it, was unanimous. It will expand the business portfolio of the University of Maine system, serve the region and state, and attract students nationally with its STEM designation and students hopefully from around the world. We also believe it will only augment the strength of the UMaine MBA, where our business faculty will continue to teach, along with our faculty in Muskie and leadership and organizational studies, the latter two, both of which currently offer concentrations in the University of Maine MBA program. We hope in turn that the Digital Marketing Analytics Program will provide University of Maine business faculty with an opportunity to teach specialized programs in their expertise outside of its generalist MBA program. Further, the DMA will be a stackable program. At USM, as you can see in the proposal, marketing is the fastest growing program by far in our School of Business. Our accelerated graduate programs offer the promise of advanced training that is affordable and will hopefully keep entrepreneurial talent in the state of Maine. Further, a graduate certificate in this area in this distinct and specialized area will attract local professionals and also be portable throughout the system. So thank you so much for the opportunity to present, and I can take any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Questions for Adam? Barbara?
I was confused by a couple different statements throughout this proposal about collaboration. As I understand it, this is a unique program that's not
is.
duplicated in other universities. And while it said there was potential for collaboration, there was no indication that it had occurred or integrated with other programs that might be related. So, so my first question is, what is the current status of that, and why is there really no indication of a plan to do that? And the second concern is to talk about the fact that there are significant costs associated with starting this program. And again, would be a good idea to discuss the risks involved. They're talking about 7 additional part-time faculty sections per year, as well as 3 additional summer sections, assuming undergraduate enrollments remain steady. And so just wanting to talk about the potential risks and rewards with that kind of investment in light of the enrollment issue. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Alexander. And those are great questions and really strike at the core of what we are talking about here today. And we wanted to be very frank in this presentation about what the costs of launching this program would be. Just to be completely honest with the Board of Trustees, I think what is not represented in the proposal is the strategic decisions that we've made at the University of Southern Maine. Unfortunately, and it's not good news for the state, but accounting as an area within our business program has seen pretty serious declines. We are working with local high schools, and we have a dynamic early career accounting professor who is currently working with the Portland Public Schools and especially the Gorham High Schools to try to generate interest in an area of need that is crucial to our state. And we've designed new, compelling first-year classes to try to generate interest in a program like accounting, but nonetheless, watching our enrollment decline in the area of accounting and watching our marketing program enrollment skyrocketed, we're trying to be nimble and make strategic decisions. So what we've elected to do is essentially through different means that I wouldn't really want to discuss at a public meeting, but the number of full-time faculty in accounting, we've reduced by roughly 3 FTE. And we are working to make sure that we invest in other programs where there is substantial growth. So last year, we hired a really dynamic new full-time professor in marketing who also has strengths in AI and robotics. We also plan, we're all watching the news, but we also plan to make an additional hire in computer science, in data science, which will also support that program. And I think there is opportunity for collaboration with the University of Maine and a lot of cross movement between their faculty and ours. I believe they have a new assistant professor in marketing, and they have really strong faculty in analytics. So I think there's going to be potential for collaboration between these two programs. With the part-time hires, sometimes we do that to save money, and that's true, but we had a discussion earlier today about what applied means, and our niche, I think, compared to the University of Maine, which has a pure Research One mission, is in the area of applied professional programs with strong ties to our region. And so in addition to Capstone Practica, we actually are really looking forward to hiring part-time faculty from the professional community strategically. So we believe that this isn't a compromise of our academic strength, but actually an opportunity to bring working professionals into our program and send our students into their workplaces as they complete capstone projects. So in some ways, we've made room to invest in this very strategically. As to your first question, that really cuts to the heart of how we do collaboration within the system. And I think it would be almost irresponsible for anyone to bring forward the framework of a new program and promise collaboration, because what really matters is implementation and to operate the program. So, through the curricular process, as you can see in the proposal, we have topic areas proposed in the framework, but we don't have syllabi. And to really promise collaboration, those individual courses will have to go through the MBA's curricular review process. We have had courses rejected by the MBA program, but so far, I think the collaboration between the two programs has been quite healthy. In addition, we would want to bring forward any certificate program through in collaboration with the MBA, much like we have with Muskie supporting a academic concentration in the MBA. And at the behest of the MBA program, our faculty worked with them to develop a concentration in leadership and organizational studies. So, and then beyond that, what you see with collaboration is as faculty numbers rise and fall, you see, some variation between the amount of credit hours that universities are able to offer other universities. So, depending on what's happening in the University of Maine budget, they would have to pay part-time overload, or we would, for our faculty to participate within the MBA program, and likewise if we need to reach out as well. So the proof is in the pudding. We have to be nimble, we have to be strategic, and we have to account for gains and losses in our faculty. But I think we're seeing real evidence of strong collaboration in the system between University of Maine and some of the other campuses. And I think this will be another, feather in the cap, so to speak.
If I could just follow up. So on the one hand, you're emphasizing part-time faculty, which I presume gives you more flexibility to reflect enrollment levels as they come
Exactly.
and go. Okay, I understand that. With regard to this budget, is this in your approved budget or the budget that is being proposed to the trustees for approval for this coming year? This is already built in.
Yes, it is. And, we've been quite cautious with our revenue. And what's misleading in the proposal that's in front of you is just we moved really quickly, but it still takes an entire year. And so our plan and hope had been to launch this program in fall of 25, but we've delayed that launch if you approve this proposal to January of 26. So it's not included in our revenue calculations, but it is included in all of our costs. And so it is part of what our strategic plan is really about. So thank you for that question.
Okay, thank you.
Joe.
Thank you. Just a quick statement of support for this program. And just to say is that in the conversation with the CAOs, right? I don't think there was a CAO who doesn't want this type of program. Analytics in a cutting edge field in business. That is exactly where we should be going. And kudos to USM for moving it forward. It's not uncommon to have adjuncts who are industry experts to be supporting programs early on when they're kind of this close to the bleeding edge, if you will. So that makes perfect sense to me. And just add that my comments there, and I'm, wasn't a formal like articulation agreement, whatever, which is that, I want to know when you're doing internships with this program, because we need to build this stuff into our program. And I'd rather than just send our students to do digital marketing there this. And I'll just close with that, to Barbara Alexander's, comment about the budgets, right? If you look at what our marketing percentages are in terms of print media and things like that, it's all going digital right now. And so the more we provide our students with the stuff that is working out there, we'll be well served here. So I'm in support, and thank you.
I agree. I think having things that are kind of meeting the moment are always very important. I just have a few questions. Number one, when you're talking about kind of part-time faculty, do you feel confident in your bench or pipeline of being able to get a good kind of breadth of experience to fill those roles? And then the second part of that question, which is related, is, I think you talked about kind of industry partnerships and that there may have been some discussions while you were building this program. And then, so I'd love to hear more about that, and then how you view kind of industry partnerships once this is like kind of running.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Baldacci. Because we have an undergraduate program and because our faculty was sadly quite small as we were kind of coming out of COVID in marketing. And, I always say about faculty at a university, it's like putting a winter coat in a washer and dryer. Like often you end up with clumps in areas that you have too many, and then you have empty clumps, empty pockets in your down coat. And so we are coming out of a period like that where we're able to reinvest. And so I wish we could have done this earlier. So the kinds of internships that you are talking about, we just had an internship fair. If you follow my social media, I met a young man named Colton who did an internship at LL Bean. Both of them were from out of state. And he took a class in digital marketing analytics at the undergraduate level and used spreadsheets to scan, I think, the entire country's marketing reviews on their website to create a strategic marketing plan for LL Bean. And so that's the kind of thing that we hope that our students experience. And from the faculty, they believe that they have an easier time hiring in marketing than they do in some of the other areas in the School of Business. And I'm not sure if the University of Maine thinks the same. But the other thing I would want to point out is that also strategically, we're pivoting quite a bit with the Maine MEIF, turning toward more commercialization and partnerships with the private sector. So we are hoping that many of those commercialization contacts will be feed their way into the program. And one element of our undergraduate business plan is to create a business fellows program that also offers placement within the private sector and as well. So, the business faculty could speak to this better than I can, just because I'm a Luddite and an historian. But I think it's that we have a lot of potential here. Thank you.
Trustee Cates.
Thank you. Someone mentioned the budget, which I know is on all of our minds. And Adam, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. It sounds like you're being very conservative. Did you say that in your 26 budget submission that you've included zero projected revenue, but all of the projected expenses?
Yes. So, the funny thing about academic affairs is, as all the provosts on here will tell you, I've been working on our fiscal year 27 budget already, just because any hire we make next year doesn't actually hit the fiscal year 26 budget. But even with the demand in our marketing program, we hired a marketing professor this year, which was in our fiscal year 25 budget. And then next year, we plan to hire in both data science, in computer science, and also an additional faculty member in the School of Business who will be working in kind of the hybrid area of marketing and sport management and e-sport management. So we're building some depth there, but this is another case where I think the genius of unified accreditation is that, sometimes when you have too many faculty or too few, we can take advantage of collaboration, particularly when we have distance programs like this, but it will ebb and flow as time goes on, and it will ebb and flow with enrollment as well. And the other area where I think the future of distance education is in low residency, particularly as we recruit international students from within the United States. And from what our business faculty tell us, that University of Maine School of Business would like the ability to sort of go every other year with a low residency opportunity. And so that's something that we really look forward to collaborating on. And some of the other people I know nationally, I'm good friends with the person who runs the MBA program, executive program at Brown. And their low residency program, combined with the option of being fully online, has been a great thing. And I think we have to be particularly cognizant of the power of AI, is I think going to really ironically privilege the face-to-face experience, relational learning as we move forward. And our low residency programs have really high rates of student satisfaction because they have the convenience of distance learning, but they come together for intense periods of relational learning. And I think it's been a really great option in the graduate realm. And I'm hoping this program will pursue that option. But once again, I can't promise it because that's something that we need to grow the size of enrollment before we start playing with too many different modalities. And that's why we probably wouldn't go into CBE as well. As you need a really big cohort to really efficiently serve like multiple modalities and multiple cohorts.
Well, so thank you. And again, not to go too much into the weeds, but I thought I heard you say that you're going to have some students the second semester of next year, of the second semester, but you have not included projected income for those students in your budget that you have now submitted?
Yeah, no. We
Okay,
have an
that's-
overall projection of graduate enrollment, and we work really closely with our enrollment VP. But even under this proposal, we only projected 5 students for the first year. And so we were pretty modest and hopefully realistic but
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Trustee Cates.
Emily?
Thank you. It's funny. I actually spent several days last week with digital firms, like 5 different ones, all that do this work in very different flavors. And it's a fascinating set of both theoretical and sort of specific, both quantitative and qualitative ways of looking at it and like what it physically looks like. It's really interesting. My question is, and since you brought it up in your presentation, you referenced UMaine, and I'm thinking about our prior conversation about potential disconnect, if you will. Can you talk between the campuses? Can you talk more about the collaboration that you envision, just so that we can have a proactive conversation about that today?
Sure. Thank you, Trustee Kane. And I think coming as an historian, when I've interviewed marketing professors, I expected them all to be basically Don Draper, coming up with a catchy tagline. And it turns out they're data analysts and behavioral economists. And so it's much more technical than I'd ever really thought. And so if you look at page 6 and 7, the programs are really distinct. And that's kind of what I view as the strength of unified accreditation, is either through strong collaboration or differentiation. And what I think will emerge is something along the lines of what we already do with the MBA, which is the University of Maine has full governance, budget, scheduling, and curricular authority over the Maine MBA, but they've been very welcoming to our faculty. And if you go to their webpage, 5 or 6 faculty are listed as part of their program. And our participation in the program ebbs and flows depending on the number of faculty we have and how much budget there is. But because they're so distinct, where I view most of the participation is through exchange of faculty. And Maine is a small population, and we need to have our faculty work together so that students don't take the same classes with the same faculty member throughout their graduate career. My professors always told me, only ever take the same professor twice, because you've learned everything you can and you need other viewpoints. And I think with the, Gabe can tell you a little bit more about the business faculty, but they're really strong in business analytics, but we're looking to hire people who are in kind of a different technical sphere in analytics. And then also, I hope that their new marketing professor, I think they just launched a marketing class at the University of Maine. And I know several years ago, there was some discussion about adding a marketing concentration, but The University of Maine, I think at that time, didn't think they had enough faculty to do so. And the University of Southern Maine had dropped to 1 faculty in marketing. So it was difficult for us to really support that. So I think what it's going to be able to do is offer a lot of opportunity for students to attend both schools and mix and match like they already do with Muskie and in other areas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comment? Seeing none, I will read the text of the proposed resolution. The academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the May 18th, 19th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and the Student Affairs Committee and approves the Master of Science in Digital Marketing Analytics at the University of Southern Maine. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Beth, could you take the roll, please?
Yes. Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you all for that
Thank you
discussion.
all.
The next item is an informational item from Farmington, a program name change, and Kathy Yardley.
Good morning, Trustee McMahon and everybody. Thank you for letting me talk briefly about the name change for Farmington's program. We've had some challenges in the past with enrollment in community health education. Therefore, a few years ago, we came forward with a request to change the name to Health Promotion and Wellness, having thought that it would help promote enrollment in our program. The last few years, Farmington has worked very hard to work with workforce partners and develop degree completion programs. And through this work, particularly with Maine Health, we're told that it would be in our best interest to not only include the community health in the title of the program, but public health, because it is much more common terminology. And we believe that it's very important to include both because while we were offering a community health foundational program that led to CHES, Certified Health Education Specialist, all of our courses had public health components to it. So we wanted to change the name, to modernize the curriculum, to add a little bit more depth so our students would have more opportunities in the workforce as they enter it. And so our students will be well versed, particularly by choosing internships, to go forward in either with a community health or public health focus. It was important to us to meet with USM faculty and with Provost Tuchinski, where USM offers a program in public health. We've talked about different ways that we can collaborate together by perhaps sharing some courses. UMF is well versed in internships at the undergraduate level, and there's expertise we can share there. And primarily, we want to provide a pipeline to their masters in public health. So we believe that by changing the name, we will attract more traditional age students, serve those in the workforce who do not have an opportunity to advance in their programs because they do not have an undergraduate degree, prepare others for workforce needs because right now they're not able to fill all positions, and support our sister institution by, again, having folks come into our courses, talk about the MPH, and help grow their enrollment as well.
Thank you. This is an informational item only. Are there any questions of Kathy? Seeing none, thank you very much. And the next item is informational also. The UMS Strategic Plan Goal Pilot Survey of Graduating Students. Jeff?
Thank you. This one's quick. I need to credit a group of people you've heard about before. The System-Wide Academic Assessment Committee comprises professional assessment staff at all the university, most of the universities that have those positions. A couple of the smaller schools don't have a dedicated staff member for that role. The group is led by the enormously talented Deb Allen, who is the assistant provost for institutional research and assessment at the University of Maine, does a terrific job leading this group. They are advisory to me. We started this committee a couple of years ago in advance of the 2022 NECHI comprehensive self-study and visit to get ourselves ramped up for academic assessment on that side of things. The group put together the first of its kind survey of end of first semester first year students last fall. And we put that survey out to students across our system. The data was gathered over the course of January and February and is now sitting with members of that committee. And with the help of SWAC and all those campus leaders, we put together a survey of all graduating undergraduate students, people completing their studies this spring. The universities took a version of an existing survey called the First Destination Survey. We chopped it down into a short survey that would go to all graduating students. We're calling it a pilot specifically because one other dimension of the trustees' strategic plan goal was to also survey graduating graduate students, including Maine law. In this first run, we did undergraduate students to figure out what questions work well for them. Next year, we'll fold in graduate students and the whole thing will be complete. In between, in August at ASA, you'll get a short presentation and quite a bit of data from me and a couple members of SWAC joining that committee meeting to talk through the findings so you can hear what kind of reports we're getting from students at the end of their first semester with us, and importantly, what kinds of things graduating seniors are saying about their experiences at our universities, about their job prospects, their plans going forward. So this was a big goal in the strategic plan and one that we're very happy to have made substantial progress on. And that's my update, Trustee McMahon. Thank you.
Question to Jeff? If not, I'll move to the next agenda item, which is executive session. And could I have a motion for the meeting to go into an executive session under the provision of 1 MRSA section 4056A to discuss the evaluation of personnel and the consideration and discussion of appointments, evaluations, employment, and duties?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and could the clerk please take the roll?
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Kate,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth.
Yes.
The motion carries. I'll move you into executive session.
We're now back in public session and we have one item. Tenure at the time of hire, professor in the College of Education and Human Development, University of Maine. I will read the text of the proposed resolution that the Academic and Student Affairs Committee forwards this item to the May 18, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting for approval of the following resolution. That the Board of Trustees accepts the recommendation of the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and approves tenure at the time of hire, professor in the College of Education and Human Development at the University of Maine, with tenure to be effective September 1, 2024. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll.
Trustee McMahon,
Yes.
trustee Riley,
Yes.
trustee Alexander,
Yes.
trustee Cates,
Yes.
trustee Kane,
Yes.
trustee Martin,
Yes.
trustee Baldacci,
Yes.
trustee Worth,
Yes.
the motion carried.
Thank you all, and thank you for a lengthy and highly productive meeting. I declare the meeting adjourned. Enjoy the rest of the day.